The Great Hall floated in space above a planet called Centris Prime. Inside, beings from 12 different worlds sat in a circle. Some looked like giant lizards. Others seemed made of light. A few had too many legs to count. And in one small corner, 2 humans stood alone. Jake Morris wore his best uniform. The dark blue fabric was pressed flat without a single wrinkle. Next to him, Lisa Grant checked her computer tablet. Her fingers moved quickly across the glowing screen. They were the only humans in a room full of aliens who had conquered stars before Earth knew how to make fire. The Vrexian ambassador stood up. He was huge, covered in scales that shined like oil in water. His voice came out as a hiss, but a machine translated his words into English. The matter is simple. Humans have taken worlds in the outer reach. Those worlds belong to us. They have always belonged to the Vrexian Dominion. Jake kept his face calm. His voice was steady when he spoke. Those worlds were empty. We searched every inch. No buildings, no markers, no signs anyone owned them. They were abandoned for thousands of years. A clicking sound filled the room. The Skeleth delegate was laughing. She looked like a giant insect with eyes that caught the light. Humans do not understand how things work here. You are weak. Your ships are slow cargo haulers. You have no real military. Why should anyone respect what you claim to own? Lisa leaned close to Jake. Her voice was barely a whisper. Sir, I am picking up secret messages between 6 different groups. This is not really about those outer worlds. This is about testing us. They want to see if we will fold. Jake's jaw tightened, but only a little. For 70 years, humanity had acted like the weak new kid in school. They smiled, they traded, they asked permission for everything. The galaxy had gotten comfortable with humans being harmless and grateful for any scraps thrown their way. Maybe too comfortable. A being made of glowing energy spoke next. Its name was difficult to pronounce, something from the Caldoran Empire. The light pulsed as it talked. The Council has a solution. Humans will leave all disputed territories. You will stay in your home system and only 3 small colony worlds. In return, we promise to protect you. Jake repeated the word slowly. Protection. You mean you want us to obey? Call it whatever makes you feel better. The Vrexian ambassador growled. You have 1 day to agree. After that, we will force you out of those territories. We will use our fleets to remove every human settlement. The whole room seemed to agree. 12 powerful empires, all united in pushing around the weak humans who dared to claim territory without the strength to defend it. They looked at each other with satisfied expressions. This would be easy. Jake looked at Lisa. She gave him a tiny nod. The message had already been sent. Back on Earth, people were already moving. Plans made long ago were now being put into action. The human delegation requests a pause, Jake announced to the room. We need 48 hours to talk with our government back home. The Vrexians' laugh sounded like rocks grinding together. 48 hours to write your surrender message. Fine, we grant this. The meeting ended. Jake and Lisa walked back to their small shuttle. Once inside the private cabin, Lisa pulled up a hologram. Information floated in the air between them. Message received by Fleet Command. Admiral Helen Price sends her regards, she said. And these are her exact words, it is about damn time. Jake let himself smile just a little. How long until our fleet arrives? 36 hours. They have been hiding at the staging point for 2 weeks. They were waiting for exactly this situation to happen. And the other assets? Lisa's smile grew wider. Already in position. The Council is about to learn something new about humanity. They are about to discover why we spent 70 years looking harmless on purpose. Through the window, Jake could see the towers of Centris Prime sparkling against the stars. They looked so peaceful, so permanent. In less than 2 days, everything the galaxy thought it knew about humans would change. The weak would become strong. The harmless would show teeth. Jake thought about all the planning that had gone into this moment. Every cargo ship that passed through alien space had been designed to look slow and primitive. Every technology demonstration humans gave to alien scientists was carefully chosen to seem decades behind galactic standards. Every diplomatic interaction was crafted to make humans seem grateful, eager to please, and absolutely no threat to anyone. It had all been an act. A very long, very careful act. Lisa was reading through reports on her tablet. Sir, intelligence confirms the Vrexian fleet is already moving into position. 16 of their largest warships. The Skeleth are adding 8 cruisers. Even the Kaldarans are powering up their energy platforms. They are bringing a lot of firepower. They want to make an example of us, Jake said. They want every minor species in the galaxy to see what happens when you do not obey the major powers. They picked the wrong species to make an example of. Jake nodded. Humanity had not survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and near extinction by being easy to push around. They had survived by being adaptable, clever, and absolutely ruthless when necessary. The galaxy was about to remember that humans were predators who had clawed their way to the top of their food chain. Looking civilized did not change what they were underneath. Get some rest, Jake told Lisa. Tomorrow we continue playing weak and scared, but the day after that we show them the truth. Lisa stood and headed for the sleeping quarters. Before she left, she turned back. Sir, do you think they will really attack if we say no? Yes, Jake said. They have committed publicly. If they back down now without us submitting, they look weak to every other species watching. Their pride will force them to follow through. Good, Lisa said, because our people need to see this. Our colonists need to know that Earth will protect them, that we are not going to bow down to bullies just because they have bigger ships. After she left, Jake sat alone in the dark cabin. He thought about the colonists on those outer worlds. Families who had traveled years through space to build new homes, children who were born on those distant planets. They were counting on Earth to stand up for them. The galaxy thought humanity was weak. They were about to learn the difference between weakness and patience, between inability and choosing not to act, between being harmless and simply waiting for the right moment. That moment was now. The human embassy on Centris Prime looked small and plain. Other empires built tall towers covered in gold and crystal. The human building was only 5 stories high with simple gray walls. Most aliens who passed by barely noticed it. That was exactly the point. Inside, hidden 3 floors below ground level, Captain Ryan Bell stood in a room that did not officially exist. The room was not on any building plans. No alien inspector had ever seen it. Holographic screens floated all around him, showing information that would shock every member of the Galactic Council if they knew it existed. Give me a status report, Ryan said. Lieutenant Kate Shaw looked up from her computer station. All surveillance drones are active and working. We have eyes on every major military base within 50 light years. The Vrexian fleet is moving exactly as we predicted. 16 warships in attack formation. The Skeleth are adding 8 cruisers. Caldoran energy platforms are charging up their weapons. What are the total numbers? Combined force of 42 capital ships, about 300 support vessels. They are using standard galactic military tactics, heavy armor, plasma weapons, and quantum shields. Kate's face was neutral, but her eyes showed excitement. They are bringing everything they have to make a big statement to the galaxy. Ryan nodded slowly. And they think we have what? 20 old cargo ships with some basic weapons? 18, according to our official registry. Kate corrected him. We have been very careful about what we let them see over the years. For 70 years, humanity had maintained a perfect illusion of military weakness. Every cargo ship that traveled through galactic space was designed to look exactly as primitive as the Council expected. Slow engines that could barely reach light speed. Minimal weapons that could not hurt a real warship. Technology that seemed decades out of date. All of it was a lie. A carefully constructed, perfectly maintained lie. The truth was that humanity had never stopped being what evolution made them. Paranoid survivors who innovated when threatened and prepared for the worst possible scenarios. While the galaxy dismissed them as harmless merchants and scientists, humanity had been building a military that would rewrite the rules of galactic warfare. Sir, incoming secure transmission from the Roosevelt, Kate announced. The holographic display changed to show Lisa Grant's face. She was calling from orbit. Captain Bell, we completed our reconnaissance mission. The Council fleets are positioning exactly where our analysts predicted. They look confident, maybe overconfident. No advanced scouts watching their flanks. No reserve formations in case of surprises. They are treating this like a police action against criminals, not a military operation. Perfect, Ryan replied. Have you identified their command structure? Vrexian Admiral Kulthrak is leading the combined fleet. His record shows over 200 battles across his career. He has never lost a major engagement. The other species are letting him make all the tactical decisions. Ryan and Kate exchanged a knowing look. Vrexian military tactics were well documented in human intelligence files. They believed in overwhelming frontal assault, breaking enemy morale with superior firepower, and accepting heavy casualties as the price of victory. It had worked for them for 3 centuries across hundreds of battles. It was also predictable. Humanity had spent years studying Vrexian tactics, running thousands of computer simulations, finding every weakness in their doctrine. Tell Commander Morris the timeline holds. 48 hours from now, we show them what humanity really is. After Lisa signed off, Kate pulled up another display. Sir, I have to ask something that has been on my mind. Why did we wait so long? We could have shown our strength years ago. We could have established ourselves as a major power from the beginning. Ryan was quiet for a moment. He watched the tactical displays showing alien fleet movements. Because fear creates enemies, Kate. If we had arrived in this galaxy with dreadnoughts and showed everyone our advanced weapons, every major power would have united against us immediately. They would have seen us as a threat that needed to be destroyed before we got too strong. Instead, we let them dismiss us and underestimate us. We traded respect for time, and we used that time to learn everything about them. Their military tactics, their technology weaknesses, their political rivalries. And now? Now they forced our hand by threatening our civilians. Now we have no choice but to show them what happens when you corner a species that evolved as persistence hunters. The galaxy is about to learn that looking harmless and being harmless are very different things. Kate pulled up a display showing human fleet positions. Ships that the Galactic Council did not know existed. Weapon systems that were beyond anything the Council had encountered. Technology that would make military strategists rewrite their textbooks. I almost feel sorry for them, Kate said quietly. Ryan shook his head. Save your sympathy. They were ready to kill millions of our colonists to prove a point about power. They were willing to murder families to show the galaxy what happens when you defy the major empires. What is about to happen to their fleets? They brought this on themselves. The door to the command center opened. Commander Paul Green entered, carrying a data pad. He was head of human intelligence operations in this sector. Captain, final reconnaissance reports are in. Every major Council military installation is accounted for. We have full tactical data on their fleet compositions, weapon ranges, shield frequencies, and communication protocols. How did we get shield frequencies? Kate asked, surprised. Paul smiled. Trade delegation 6 months ago. We sent a team of scientists to study Vrexian quantum shield technology. They said they wanted to learn from the superior alien tech. The Vrexians were so flattered by the request that they gave us full access to their systems. They never suspected we were analyzing weaknesses instead of admiring their engineering. Ryan had to suppress a smile. Humanity's intelligence operations over the past 70 years had been masterful. Every trade mission included intelligence officers. Every cultural exchange hid surveillance equipment. Every treaty negotiation was a chance to gather information about military capabilities and political tensions. The other species had been so convinced of human weakness that they never looked for deception. Who would suspect the harmless cargo haulers of running sophisticated spy operations? Who would imagine that the grateful newcomers were preparing for a potential war from day one? Paul, make sure all fleet commanders have the latest tactical data, Ryan ordered. I want every captain to know exactly what they are facing. Shield frequencies, weapon ranges, communication protocols, everything. Already done, sir. Admiral Price has been briefing the fleet for the past 6 hours. Kate looked at the chronometer on her display. 34 hours until the deadline. Do you think they will actually attack if we refuse their ultimatum? Yes, Ryan said with certainty. They have made this a public test of strength. If they back down now, every minor species in the galaxy will see them as weak. They will attack to maintain their reputation, even if some of them privately have doubts. Then they will learn a hard lesson, Paul said. You cannot maintain a reputation built on fear if someone shows they are not afraid of you. Ryan pulled up a star chart showing human territory. 70 years ago, humanity had controlled one system with 9 planets. Now they had 47 colony worlds spread across 20 systems. They had built orbital stations, mining facilities, research outposts, and manufacturing centers that, produced more ships and weapons than the Galactic Council suspected existed. All of it hidden in plain sight. All of it dismissed as primitive human attempts to catch up with galactic civilization. The Council thinks they are teaching us a lesson about power, Ryan said to his officers. Instead, they are about to receive a lesson about assumptions, about the danger of underestimating an opponent, about what happens when you threaten a species that spent its entire evolution learning how to kill things bigger and stronger than themselves. Kate pulled up images of human warships preparing for combat, sleek vessels painted in dark colors that absorbed sensor scans, railguns that could throw metal projectiles at relativistic speeds, missile systems with enough firepower to crack planets, electronic warfare suites that could blind enemy sensors and scramble communications. Admiral Price is requesting final confirmation on rules of engagement, Kate reported. Ryan took a deep breath. This was the moment. Once he gave this order, there was no going back. Humanity would step onto the galactic stage as a military power. Everything would change. Tell the Admiral her rules of engagement are confirmed. Demonstrate our capabilities. Make the lesson clear and undeniable. But use minimum necessary force. We want them to retreat, not to die. Give them a way out with their honor intact if possible. Understood, sir. As his officers worked to relay orders and coordinate the massive operation ahead, Ryan thought about the future. The galaxy would be different after tomorrow. Humanity would be different. They would no longer be the harmless newcomers grateful for any attention from the major powers. They would be equals, partners, or potentially enemies if this went wrong. But there was no other choice now. The Council had forced this confrontation. They had threatened human lives, and humanity would. 48 hours had passed. The human delegation returned to the Council chambers. Jake Morris walked with the same calm steps as before, but something had changed in the air. Lisa Grant followed close behind him. This time they were not alone. 6 more humans in military uniforms walked with them. They moved with perfect coordination, like soldiers who had trained together for years. The Council representatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. This was already different from normal diplomatic protocol. Admiral Helen Price took her position at the central speaking platform. Her silver hair was pulled back tight. Her eyes were sharp and focused despite her 60 years. She had commanded fleets in conflicts that the galaxy never knew happened. She had defended human interests in the shadows while diplomats smiled and acted weak. The human delegation recognizes Admiral Helen Price, the Council moderator announced. The confusion was clear in his voice. Why was a military officer present at diplomatic proceedings? Helen's voice carried across the entire chamber without needing amplification. The United Earth Coalition has carefully considered the Council's ultimatum. We reject it completely. The Vrexian ambassador rose to his full height. His massive body seemed to radiate contempt. Then you have chosen extinction. My fleet stands ready to remove your illegal settlements from the Outer Reach territories. Your fleet, Helen said calmly, has been under constant observation for the past 48 hours. 16 Vrexian dreadnoughts, 8 Skeleth cruisers, 12 Caldoran energy platforms, support vessels from 6 other empires, 42 capital ships total. Very impressive. Surprised murmurs rippled through the chamber. How did the humans have such detailed intelligence about fleet movements? Admiral Kolthrak's image appeared on the main viewing screen. He was transmitting from his flagship somewhere in space. The Vrexian commander's scales stood up in an aggressive display. You see that we are serious, human. Stand aside from those territories or we will destroy every human installation there. Helen smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Computer, display tactical overlay of local space. The chamber's central hologram changed. It showed the space around Centris Prime. The Council fleet appeared as red markers arranged in attack formation. Then new markers began appearing. Blue icons representing ships. Dozens of them appeared. Then hundreds. The Council representatives went completely silent. The quiet was so complete you could hear breathing. What you are seeing, Helen explained calmly, is the actual human fleet, not cargo ships, not science vessels. These are purpose-built military warships. They have been in position around every major Council fleet assembly point for the past 3 weeks. You never detected them because our stealth technology is decades ahead of your sensor systems. Captain Nick Foster's voice came through the communication system. This is the UES Valiant to all Council forces. You are completely surrounded. Power down your weapons and withdraw peacefully, or we will be forced to demonstrate why that would be in your best interests. Admiral Colthrak's laugh boomed through the speakers. Impressive theater and deception, but numbers mean nothing without real capability. Your primitive weapons cannot penetrate our quantum shields. You may have hidden ships, but they are still using inferior human technology. This changes nothing. Actually, Lisa Grant spoke up, stepping forward with technical readouts. We should talk about your quantum shields. We have been studying them for years. Fascinating technology, truly impressive. You use phase-locked quantum fields to disperse incoming energy weapons. Very effective against plasma cannons and particle beams. What is your point, human? Colthrak growled impatiently. My point is that we do not use energy weapons as our primary armament. We use kinetic projectiles, specifically magnetically accelerated tungsten rods traveling at 30% of light speed. Every being in the chamber went absolutely still. Even the Kaldarans stopped pulsing their lights. Helen continued in the same calm, matter-of-fact tone. Your shields are designed to disperse energy. They are excellent at that specific task. But against solid matter, against physical projectiles carrying that much kinetic energy, your shields might as well not exist. The impact would go straight through like the shields are not even there. You are bluffing. The Kaldaran representative pulsed, but its light had dimmed to a sickly yellow color. No species uses such primitive kinetic weapons. Captain Foster, Helen said clearly, please provide a demonstration for the Council. Target the debris field in Sector 7. 1 round only. On the tactical display, one of the blue markers adjusted its position slightly. A moment later, a streak of light crossed the screen almost too fast to see. The debris field that had been floating in space, chunks of rock and metal left over from some ancient space battle, simply ceased to exist. Not vaporized, not scattered. The kinetic impact had literally reduced tons of matter to individual atoms. The silence in the chamber was now absolute. That was 1 round from 1 ship, Helen said quietly, letting the words sink in. We have 300 ships in range of your fleets right now. Each ship carries 2,000 rounds in its magazines. I will let you do the mathematics on what that means for your military forces. Admiral Colthrak's expression had changed. The contempt was gone. In its place was something else. Not quite fear, but the look of a veteran military commander recognizing a losing tactical position. There is more you should know, Jake added, stepping forward to stand beside Helen. Your faster-than-light communication systems, we have been intercepting and decrypting them for 6 years. Your sensor networks that watch your borders, we can spoof them at will, make phantom ships appear or real ships vanish. Your quantum entanglement coordinators that you use for fleet coordination, we can jam them completely. And those are just the conventional capabilities we are willing to reveal today. Helen's gaze swept slowly across the Council, making eye contact with each delegate. Humanity has been playing a role for 70 years. We let you believe we were primitive, weak, dependent on your goodwill and protection. We did this because we genuinely prefer peace to war, but never ever mistake a preference for peace as an inability to wage war. The Skelleth delegate's mandibles clicked nervously. This is impossible. Your technology when you joined the galactic community was documented as being centuries behind ours in every category. Was it, though? Lisa asked, her tone almost conversational. Or did we simply show you exactly what you expected to see? Every ship you inspected was carefully modified to appear primitive. Every technology demonstration we provided was calibrated to seem appropriately backward. Every patent we filed with the Galactic Technology Registry was chosen to maintain a specific illusion. We learned from you, we studied you extensively, and you never once questioned whether we were showing you the complete truth. On the main tactical display, the blue markers representing human ships began moving. They flowed into perfect tactical formations around every red marker representing Council forces, not aggressively threatening but unmistakably dominant. The human fleet had achieved complete envelopment of every major Council military force in the entire sector. Helen's voice became harder, more commanding. Here is what happens next. The Galactic Council will officially recognize human sovereignty over all territories we currently occupy. You will immediately cease all military posturing and threats against Earth and its colonies, and you will open honest negotiations for a proper partnership in galactic affairs. We want to be treated as equals, not as subordinates grateful for scraps. And if we refuse your demands, Kolthrak asked, but his voice had lost all its earlier certainty. Then we stop demonstrating on debris fields and start demonstrating on shields and armor plating. Then we have a longer conversation about how humanity has been mining asteroids for 70 years, building industrial infrastructure you never suspected existed, and how our current manufacturing capacity exceeds the combined industrial output of the Vrexian Dominion. But I do not think you will refuse, Admiral. You are a veteran of 200 battles. You know a tactically hopeless position when you see one. The Vrexian commander stared at Helen through the view screen for a long moment. Calculations were happening behind his eyes, pride warring with practicality. Finally, slowly, he gave a gesture of acknowledgement. The Vrexian Dominion withdraws all territorial claims to the outer reach. We require time to discuss these new circumstances with our government. One by one, the other empires followed. Some grudgingly, some with barely concealed shock on their alien faces, but every single one of them stepped back from the confrontation. The threat of violence evaporated like morning mist. As the council session was formally adjourned, Helen turned to Jake and Lisa. Her expression relaxed slightly. Phase 1 is complete. Now comes the much harder part of this operation. Making them accept us as equals, Jake asked. No, Helen replied, looking at the departing delegates. Making sure we do not become the very thing we just made them fear. Power is easy to acquire and use. Using power wisely with restraint and moral consideration, that is the real challenge facing humanity now. Lisa looked at the tactical display still showing human ships surrounding former potential enemies. Do you think they will try to develop weapons? 3 days after the confrontation, Jake Morris found himself in an unexpected situation. He was having dinner with Admiral Kolthrak aboard the Vrexian flagship. The invitation had surprised everyone, but Admiral Helen Price had approved it immediately. Know your enemy, she had said with a slight smile, or in this case, know your new colleague. The Vrexian Admiral's personal quarters were plain and simple. Weapons from old battles hung on the walls as decorations. Kolthrak himself sat across a low table from Jake. Despite his large predatory body, he somehow managed to look relaxed. You must understand something clearly, Kolthrak said through his translation device. This is not an apology. The Vrexian Dominion does not apologize for military actions. I did not expect an apology, Jake replied honestly. I think this meeting is about understanding each other better. Kolthrak poured a thick, glowing liquid into 2 metal cups. This is Vrexian combat wine. Our medical scanners confirm it will not harm your biology. My people believe it helps facilitate honest conversation. Whether that is true or just tradition, I cannot say. Jake accepted the cup and took a careful sip. It tasted strange, like cinnamon mixed with something he could not identify. Not unpleasant, though. Your deception was masterful, Kolthrak continued, his tone holding something like respect. For 70 years we believed humanity was harmless, weak. I personally studied your species when you first made contact with the galactic community. Your historical record spoke of constant warfare, innovation born from desperation, a species that turned everything it touched into potential weapons. Yet you presented yourselves as peaceful merchants and curious scientists. We are peaceful, Jake said carefully. We are also survivors. Those two things are not contradictory. No, Kolthrak agreed, taking a long drink from his cup. They are not contradictory at all. The galaxy has grown comfortable over the centuries, Commander. We Vrexians, the Skeleth, the Kaldarans, all the major powers achieved dominance long ago. Since then, we have maintained our power through tradition and intimidation of lesser species. True innovation became rare. Why improve and change when you already dominate everything? He leaned forward, his scales catching the dim light. Then humanity arrived in our galaxy. New, primitive, easily dismissed. We offered you the leftover scraps of territory we did not want and called it generous. We never seriously considered that you might be playing a much longer game than we understood. The council backed us into a corner, Jake said firmly. We would have been content to continue as we were for another decade, maybe 2. Building our colonies, learning from other species, integrating slowly into galactic society. But you threatened our colonies and our civilians. That crossed a line we could not ignore. A line you were already prepared for us to cross, Kolthrak observed shrewdly. Your fleet was in position weeks before we issued the ultimatum. You knew someone would eventually overreach and test you. You were counting on it happening. Jake was quiet for a moment, considering how much to reveal. We knew that eventually, One of the major powers would decide to test humanity, to see if we would submit under pressure. We needed a moment where we could reveal our true strength not as aggressors starting a war, but as defenders protecting our people. Context matters greatly in galactic politics. Indeed it does, Kolthrak said, refilling both cups. Your Admiral Price is very wise. She orchestrated this situation perfectly. The Council cannot paint humanity as the aggressor when you were clearly responding to our threats. Instead, we appear as fools who awakened a sleeping predator we should have left alone. Is that what troubles you? The political embarrassment to your government? No. Kolthrak's voice took on a different quality. What troubles me deeply is the realization of how completely we misunderstood your species. If your deception was this thorough in military matters, what else have you hidden from us? What other capabilities do you possess that we cannot even imagine? Jake met the Admiral's alien gaze directly. Would you believe me if I told you we have shown you everything? Probably not, Kolthrak admitted with what might have been a laugh. Trust once broken is extremely difficult to restore. But I am trying, Commander, because the alternative is a war that would devastate multiple civilizations. Your kinetic weapons would shatter our fleets in any direct engagement. But we have billions of soldiers across thousands of worlds. Such a conflict would be catastrophic for everyone involved, possibly for the entire galaxy. Which is exactly why we do not want that war, Jake said with intensity. Admiral, humanity does not seek dominance over other species. We have seen throughout our own history where that path leads. We want genuine partnership, fair trade, and exchange of knowledge and ideas. We revealed our military strength to prevent war from happening, not to start one. Beautiful words, Kolthrak said slowly, but power inevitably changes those who possess it. I have seen this pattern countless times across 2 centuries of life. Today you claim peaceful intentions, but tomorrow, when some minor empire insults humanity, when you realize you could simply take whatever you want by force, will you still hold to these ideals, or will you become like us? Jake was silent for a long time, thinking seriously about the question. I honestly do not know, he finally admitted. We are human. We make mistakes. We have egos and ambitions like any species. But we are also very aware of our own history. We know what unchecked power does to civilizations. That is why Admiral Price ended her demonstration when she did. She could have destroyed your entire fleet as an example, could have made a display that would have terrified every species in the galaxy. But she stopped at sufficiency, at doing just enough to make her point. Sufficiency, Kolthrak repeated the word thoughtfully. Using only the minimum force necessary to achieve your objective. No more than required. It is a military principle we learned the hard way over centuries of warfare on our own world. Overwhelming force might win immediate battles, but it creates lasting enemies and deep resentment. Sufficiency achieves your goal while leaving room for future cooperation and reconciliation. Kolthrak was quiet for a very long time. His alien features were difficult for Jake to read completely. Finally he spoke again. The Vrexian Dominion wishes to formally propose joint military training exercises. Our fleets working together on tactical problems and scenarios. We would learn from your methods and technology, and perhaps you might learn something from our centuries of experience. You want to study our capabilities up close, Jake observed without accusation. Yes, I will not lie about that, Kolthrak said bluntly. But also I want my warriors to see humans not as weak merchants or mysterious threats, but as fellow soldiers. Understanding breeds respect between military forces. Respect can eventually breed trust. Jake thought about this carefully. I will relay your proposal to Admiral Price, but this must go both ways, Kolthrak. You will have to accept that some of our capabilities will remain classified and secret, just as I assume you will keep some of your own military secrets. Of course, trust must be built gradually over time, not simply granted all at once. The Vrexian Admiral raised his cup in what seemed to be a toast. To sufficiency, Commander Morris. May both our species be wise enough to practice it consistently. Jake raised his own cup and touched it to Kolthrak's. To understanding between our peoples. May it prevent the conflicts that sufficiency would otherwise have to resolve through violence. They drank together, human and alien, former enemies beginning the long, difficult process of becoming allies. Outside the flagship's windows, human and Vrexian ships held formation near each other. Weapons were powered down. Shields were at minimum. Small gestures, but meaningful ones. Jake thought about the future as he finished his strange wine. The revelation of human military power had changed everything. But it was only the beginning. Now came the harder work of building genuine relationships, establishing trust, and proving that humanity could be both strong and wise. The galaxy was watching to see which path humanity would choose. Whether they would become partners or overlords. Whether strength would corrupt them or make them better. Only time would answer those questions. But sitting here with Kulthrak, sharing drink and honest conversation, Jake felt cautiously hopeful about the future. Perhaps different species could find common ground after all, even after starting as enemies. Perhaps the galaxy could move toward cooperation instead of endless competition for dominance. It was worth trying. It had to be worth trying, because the alternative was too terrible to contemplate. 6 months passed since the revelation. The Galactic Council gathered again in their great hall above Centris Prime. The atmosphere felt completely different from that tense meeting half a year ago. The human delegation had grown significantly. Admiral Helen Price now sat as Earth's primary representative, with Jake Morris and Lisa Grant as her senior advisors. But the change went deeper than just numbers. The seating arrangement itself had been altered. Humanity no longer occupied a small platform on the outer edge. They sat among the major powers, their position reflecting their newly recognized status as equals. Commander Kate Shaw, recently promoted from lieutenant, stood behind Helen. She coordinated with a team of human officers managing the complex diplomatic protocols. The days of 2 lonely representatives were permanently over. The Council recognizes Ambassador Helen Price of the United Earth Coalition, the moderator announced, using her proper diplomatic title for the first time in these chambers. Helen stood with a bearing that was both military and diplomatic. Thank you. I come before the Council today not to discuss territory or past threats, but to propose a shared future. 6 months ago, we revealed capabilities that shocked the galaxy. Today, I want to discuss what we do with those capabilities for the benefit of all species. She gestured toward the central hologram, and it changed to show a detailed star map, the Outer Rim territories. For 5 centuries, the Council has avoided this entire region because of dangerous navigational hazards and spatial anomalies. Yet our long-range scans suggest dozens of potentially habitable worlds and extremely resource-rich systems. Humanity proposes a joint expedition, pooling our combined resources and knowledge to explore and develop this region together as partners. The Skeleth delegates' mandibles clicked with obvious skepticism. Why would humanity share such a valuable opportunity? You have demonstrated the military power to claim those territories exclusively for yourselves. Because we genuinely cannot develop them efficiently alone, Lisa interjected, stepping forward confidently. The Skeleth possess the best terraforming technology in the known galaxy. The Kaldarans understand energy manipulation and power generation better than anyone. The Vrexians have centuries of accumulated experience in rapid colonization of hostile environments. We could stumble through it ourselves over decades, or we could work together and achieve something far greater in a fraction of the time. And how would profits from such development be distributed? Asked the representative from the Meridian Collective, a crystalline being that communicated through complex patterns of colored light. Shared proportionally based on each species' investment and contribution to the project, Helen replied clearly. We are proposing a true equal partnership, not human dominance disguised as cooperation. Admiral Kulthrak, now also serving as a Vrexian Council representative, spoke up from his position. The Vrexian Dominion formally supports this proposal. We have worked directly with human military forces over these past months in joint training exercises. Their technology is genuinely impressive, but they have also shown real willingness to share knowledge and learn from our experience. This is the behavior pattern of partners, not would-be conquerors, Captain. Ryan Bell monitored the proceedings carefully from Earth, the extensive network of surveillance and intelligence gathering that humanity had built over 70 years remained fully active. Trust was growing steadily, but verification was still critically important. The difference now was that the intelligence gathering was no longer one-sided. The other major powers were developing their own intelligence capabilities regarding humanity, and Earth was deliberately allowing it to happen. Transparency through mutual observation, as Helen had named the policy. His console suddenly chimed with an urgent priority alert. Captain Nick Foster, now commanding the Valiant Battle Group on patrol duty, sent an emergency message. Unidentified vessels detected entering galactic space. Their vectors suggest origin from outside our spiral arm. Ship configuration unknown and unlike anything in our databases. Recommend immediate council alert. Ryan forwarded the critical information to Helen without any delay. Within seconds, Helen's expression shifted subtly as she received the alert through her secure neural interface implant. Council members, Helen said, her diplomatic tone sharpening noticeably. I have just received an urgent report from our outer patrol forces. Unknown vessels are approaching from extragalactic space, ships we have never encountered before. Long-range scans suggest they are large in size and numerous in quantity. The chamber immediately erupted in concerned murmurs and worried conversations. The Caldoran representative pulsed urgently with bright red light. How many vessels are we talking about? At least 50 confirmed, Helen replied seriously. Possibly many more behind them. They are still beyond our detailed sensor range for accurate counting. This could be the Kresh returning. The Meridian Collective representative flashed in ominous dark purple patterns. Ancient historical records speak of a hostile machine intelligence that retreated beyond the galactic rim 3,000 years ago. They promised in their final transmission that they would return someday. Kulthrak's growl rumbled through the chamber's speakers. If these are truly the Kresh, no single empire can possibly stand against them alone. Our ancestors barely survived their last major incursion, and that was when our civilizations were arguably stronger than today. Helen looked slowly around the council, making eye contact with each delegate. Then perhaps this is where we all learn whether we can truly work together as allies. Not for profit or territory, but for collective survival. The Skeleth delegate clicked rapidly, clearly consulting with her government through secure channels. The Skeleth Collective commits our full military forces to a joint defense effort. But we desperately need coordination and unified command structure. Chaos will kill us faster than any enemy. The humans have clearly proven their tactical and strategic capabilities, Kulthrak said firmly. And their doctrine of sufficiency rather than dominance has earned respect. I formally propose that Admiral Price coordinates the initial response fleet until we know what we face. There were hesitations and worried discussions. Centuries of rivalry and competition did not disappear easily. But ultimately, one delegation after another agreed to the proposal. Survival outweighed pride. Helen's expression remained professionally controlled, but Ryan, watching from Earth, could see the enormous weight settling visibly on her shoulders. Humanity had revealed its hidden strength to prevent a war with the Council. Now they might have to prove that strength against a completely unknown threat that had terrified the galaxy's ancestors. Commander Shaw, send emergency relay to Fleet Command, Helen ordered quietly but firmly. Full military mobilization of all assets, but also activate the deep contingencies we discussed. Kate nodded with understanding. The deep contingencies were humanity's final hidden secrets. Weapons and technologies they had not revealed even during the dramatic confrontation 6 months ago. Technologies that pushed ethical boundaries humanity had carefully set for themselves. If the Kresh were truly as dangerous as the fragmentary old records suggested, those ethical boundaries might need serious reconsideration. As the Council descended into organized chaos, various empires coordinating their militaries together for the first time in living memory, Jake stood close beside Lisa. We wanted the galaxy to take us seriously as a power, he said quietly. It looks like we are about to get far more serious than any of us planned. The galaxy knows we are dangerous now, Lisa replied, watching the frantic activity around them. The real question is whether we are dangerous enough for whatever is coming toward us from the dark between galaxies. Helen approached them, her expression grim but absolutely determined. Get me everything we have in our databases about the Kresh. Every fragment, every legend, every piece of archaeological data. And Jake, contact Captain Foster directly. Tell him to prepare the Valiant Group for extended deep space operations far from resupply. If we are going to face an ancient machine intelligence, we are going to do it the distinctly human way. Which is what exactly? Jake asked, though he suspected he knew the answer. Helen's smile was sharp and held no humor. Unpredictably, creatively, and with absolute willingness to break every established rule of conventional warfare, if that is what survival requires. The galaxy wanted to see what humanity is truly capable of achieving. They are about to get a comprehensive demonstration under the worst possible circumstances. As the Council continued its emergency crisis session, human warships began moving smoothly into coordination positions alongside their former adversaries. Massive Vrexian dreadnoughts formed up beside sleek human cruisers. Skeleth support vessels integrated their systems with Caldoran energy platforms. A galaxy that had been on the very brink of war just 6 months ago was now unifying by absolute necessity. And at the center of it all stood humanity. The species that had hidden its true strength for 70 years, revealed it at the perfect strategic moment, and now prepared to prove whether that carefully cultivated strength was truly sufficient for the challenges ahead. The moment humans unveiled their true military power had indeed made